How would you like a 15% discount to my daily email, the stack of stuff, the show notes, discounts to the conference, all of that? All you need to do is text the word show to 33777. You'll get the annual subscription with a 15% discount to my daily email. You'll get the stack of stuff, the links to the show notes, discounts to the conference, and so much more. All you have to do is text the word show, SHOW, to 33777. Text show to 33777.
Welcome to the Eric Erickson Show podcast, Hour 1.
Greetings, conversationalists. It's Eric Erickson here across the United States. 877-973-7425 is the phone number, should you wish to be on the program. Friends, I have a piece of advice for Donald Trump. I know how to physically wipe out the Democrats overnight. I don't mean this to be hysterical. I don't mean it to be hyperbolic. And I know it'll come across as incendiary to a number of people. But I know how Donald Trump can fairly immediately exterminate the Democrats. Like, I don't know that we have enough caskets available for the amount of funerals that we would have. It would be an amazing near genocide level event, and it would be perfectly legal. Listen, I hesitate. I hesitate to go down this road, but in light of recent events, I think I need to. I know how Donald Trump can eliminate the Democrats. I hesitate to use the word exterminate, but essentially Donald Trump has the capacity to physically annihilate, wipe out, kill every Democrat everywhere overnight in a perfectly legal way. And I know it's extraordinary. And I, as a radio show host, a conservative Christian radio show host, I hesitate to get out on this road, but I'm watching these events, and I know how he can do it. And it would be perfectly legal. There would be no legal consequence for it. I mean, there wouldn't be any Democrats left to even pursue him. But just, I mean, it's he has real power here. All Donald Trump needs to do to exterminate the Democrats, an extinction level event, physical extinction level event for the Democrats, is say he believes breathing is good, because every single last damn Democrat in America will hold their breath and die. Because just consider events. Donald Trump decides that illegal immigrants need to be deported. What does the Democratic Party do? Rally to the illegal immigrants. When Donald Trump says foreign gangbangers need to be deported from the United States, what do the Democrats do? Rally to protect the foreign gangbangers. And now Donald Trump is saying that crime in the District of Columbia is bad. And what are the Democrats doing? Saying crime does not exist, and if it does exist, it's good. If Donald Trump today tells Democrats breathing is good, every Democrat in America is going to hold their breath until they die. He will wipe out the Democratic Party. He will kill every Democrat in the country, and actually it will be suicide on their part. They will all hold their breath and refuse to breathe if Donald Trump says oxygen is good or breathing is good. That's where we are as a country. If Donald Trump says something is bad, Democrats say it's good. If Donald Trump says it's good, Democrats say it's bad. He's now got the Democrats on the side of the gangbangers and murderers in Washington, D.C. He's got them on the side of MS-13 in Trinidad. He's got them on the side of the illegal immigrants who are taking American jobs. He's got them on the side of Hamas. He's got Democrats on the side of the terrorists. Every position Donald Trump has taken that has 80% support in the United States has Democrats on the other side. And it's like 99% support that breathing is good. He's going to eliminate the entire Democratic Party overnight just by making them hold their breath until they die. That's how broken the Democratic Party has become. They want you to know, the Democrats do, that actually we're at historically low crime in Washington, D.C. That's Ken Delanian, an NBC News reporter who wants you to know that we are at historically low crime in Washington, D.C. You know why they put the 30-year mark? All the Democrats, their talking point is we're at a 30-year low. You know why they're saying 30-year low? Because 30 years ago, there was a massive crack epidemic in Washington, D.C. A massive crack epidemic. They don't have a massive crack epidemic right now in Washington, D.C., but they have massive crime problems. 6 times higher crime rate and murder rate in Washington, D.C. than in New York City. Let me give you some actual data. They have the 4th highest homicide rate in 2024. Their homicide rate is 6 times higher than New York City. Their homicide rate is 4 times higher than Los Angeles. Their homicide is double Newark. They also beat out Atlanta, Chicago, Compton, and Oakland, California, all places commonly referred to as crime-infested or dangerous cities, and Washington, D.C. beats them all. And yet, you have Peter Baker from the New York Times citing a New York Times story by reporters who do not live in Washington, D.C., insisting that everything is fine in Washington, D.C. because Trump says it's bad, basically. A congresswoman was attacked in an elevator. She had to throw scalding hot coffee on the attacker to get away from him. Congressman Dan Bishop and Mike Collins had staffers approached by a gang of thieves who attempted to take their personal belongings from them. Congressman Henry Cuellar was carjacked. The crime is so bad in D.C. now, the carjackers are getting carjacked. Mike Gill, a married father of 3, is in critical condition because someone shot him at 5 p.m. Monday last year. This is happening regularly in Washington. But you know what? The good white progressive reporters and Democrats who tell you crime's not a problem, they don't live in the crime-infested areas. Every single one of you, wherever you live, knows there are parts of your community where you don't go after dark, and in some places you don't go during the daytime. Atlanta has them. Houston has them. Baton Rouge has them. Jacksonville has them. Orlando has them. Every single one of you knows those areas. But now think of what the white progressives do. Several years ago, Microsoft came up with a solution in its navigation system, a product for pedestrians who are out for walks, where they would steer you around high crime concentration neighborhoods. The American Civil Liberties Union and National Public Radio attacked Microsoft for putting out this product, claiming it was racist. Why? Because it turned out there was a pretty good correlation between high crime neighborhoods and black neighborhoods. And the good white progressives tell you crime's not a problem because the good white progressives don't live where the crime is, and they don't care enough about the black people. They think, well, it's just part of their community. No black mother or father in Washington, D.C. wants their children gunned down. By the way, for all the Democrats who are citing statistics, they fired a police supervisor in Washington, D.C. for gaming the statistics to make crime look less than it was. For all the people saying crime is down in D.C., it's still high. For all the Democrats who cite statistics that may or may not be may or may not be gamed, I can cite you Dominic Ratcliffe, stabbed to death in DuPont Circle. Damian Hill, shot to death on Bennington Road. Lamar Edmonds, shot to death on the southeast side of the city. Carmelo Green, shot to death on the southeast side of the city. Terrell Oliver, shot to death on the southeast side of the city. Mario Guardado, punched to death on the northwest side of the city. Mika Vaughn, shot to death on the northeast side of the city. Malik Lee, stabbed to death on the northwest side of the city. Mark Odoms, shot to death on the southeast side of the city. Nadir McCoy, shot to death on the southwest side of the city. Jeremiah Law, shot to death on the northeast side of the city. Tavon Nord, shot to death on the northwest side of the city. Christopher Robinson, shot to death on the southeast side of the city. Vance Conti, shot to death on the northwest side of the city. Deshaun Judge shot to death on the northeast side of the city. Brandon Ward shot to death on the northwest side of the city. Fred Morgan shot to death on the southeast side of the city. Alexander Ross shot to death on the southeast side of the city. Olivia Graves shot to death on the southeast side of the city. Tyrone Birch shot to death on the northeast side of the city. Should I go on? You can cite me all the statistics. Those are the names of the people who were murdered in November and December of last year in Washington, D.C. Most of them shot, some of them stabbed, some of them punched to death. I've got 1-year-olds, I've got 2-year-olds, I've got 3-year-olds, I've got 4-year-olds, I've got 5-year-olds on the list, all of whom were murdered in Washington, D.C. And you good white progressives in the press, Peter Baker, who lives in New York City, you got all these other Democrats out there saying crime's not really a problem in Washington. No, it's not, you racist progressives, because it's not where you visit. You don't give one damn about the black residents of Washington, D.C. You actually think it's part of their community, don't you? You pontificate from New York City or Alexandria, Virginia, or Arlington, Virginia, or Chevy Chase, Maryland, or Bethesda, Maryland, or the northwest section of Washington, D.C., where there was one murder last year, and you look out on all of it and say, I don't see it, so it's not happening. You are the come-to-life version of Animal Farm. You're upset that Donald Trump is taking over, and for all you people saying, you're a conservative, you should believe in limited government, District of Columbia is not a state, it is a federal territory that should be controlled by the federal government. We should have never given them the right to vote. We should have never given them statehood or cityhood. We should have never given them home rule. People in Washington should not be allowed to vote for president. They should not be allowed to govern themselves. It should be a territory controlled by Congress as the founders intended it to be. That's conservatism. Limited government, you limit Washington, D.C. from acting like a government. The fact that the good white progressives of Washington are rallying around the criminals and gangbangers because Donald Trump says it's bad shows you the level of moral corruption within the Democratic Party. He thinks we got to deport illegal aliens. They want to rally to illegal aliens. He thinks we got to deport the gangbangers who are here illegally. They rally to them. He thinks we got to solve the crime in Washington, D.C. The Democrats rally to him. Well, you know what's so interesting here is that most of the local politicians in Washington, D.C., including the mayor of Washington, have been far less condemnatory than the national white Democrats. The people of Washington, D.C. want safety. The police union in Washington, D.C. has come out in favor of this federal takeover. Did you know that? Did you hear that on your nightly news where the Democrats were blasting this? Did you know that the police union has come out because they say the police are overwhelmed and crime is too high in Washington? Have you heard that on ABC, CBS, or NBC? Did you hear it on CNN or MSNBC? Did you read that in the New York Times that the police union in Washington supports the federal takeover because the police lives are threatened? The police are overwhelmed with the crime in Washington, D.C. You lily white progressives who say it's not a problem, then you never encounter it. You don't even live in Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C. is a theory to you, not a reality to you. You don't live on the southeast side where congressional staffers get mugged. You don't live on the southwest side where local children get stabbed to death. You don't live on the far reaches of the northeast side where kids on their way to school get gunned down by gangbangers caught in their crossfire. You don't live in any of those places, so you don't believe it exists. You don't want to deal with crime in your cities either, and so what you do is you say Donald Trump's a racist because he wants to crack down on crime. You said Microsoft was racist because Microsoft sought to protect its users from crime, high crime areas. You said, oh, it's racist. They're not sending them through a black neighborhood. Why? Not because they're black, but because there are gangs. They're killing each other. And you would rather people die than solve the crime problem because you feel virtuous in your safety of your apartment, riding on your Peloton, watching the news, tut-tutting everyone else in the safety of your building that has a security guard in its basement and inside the front door of it so no one can come get you. You privileged white elitist in Washington, D.C., pontificating on television. You black elitist who are working with the white elitists at MSNBC to scream racism over this, where you don't live in it, you don't go to it, you don't have to deal with it. The people of Washington, D.C. want salvation, and they're finding that salvation from Donald Trump, not from any Democratic politician, because the Democratic politicians have failed the black residents of Washington, D.C., taking their vote for granted all while they're being gunned down. The Democrats have decided to embrace crime because Donald Trump is against crime. If Donald Trump comes out tomorrow and says breathing is good, every Democrat in America is going to hold their breath and wipe themselves out. And it would be funny to see the fact that they are in favor of criminals now because Trump wants to crack down on crime, and the fact that they're lying and saying that contrary to even the objective statistics, crime's not bad because they don't see it, tells you just how perverse the Democratic Party has become on these issues. Donald Trump is a blessed man. He actually is. Listen to this clip from CNN.
When you look at the key categories that we always look at, energy, food, and shelter, energy fell by 1.1%. That was largely driven because of gas prices falling in the month of July by 2.2%. Look at that food. I mean, this is where people spend their money, right? Food every single day. Food flat, 0%, and actually down at the grocery store by 0.1%. And then shelter, we always usually see an increase because that is what people are paying on rent, and we know that rents are rising.
Yeah, remarkable. Inflation rate, 2.7%, better than analysts expected. Now, there is a catch here. You're thinking tariffs. Well, companies have been absorbing the cost. They haven't been passing costs on to consumers. That's coming to an end, and we're starting to see it in the data. Energy fell so much it offset the inflation data, but when you take energy and food out to core inflation, that's what the Federal Reserve looks like. It actually went up higher than expected. Why? Well, because over to you, Wall Street Journal, there are prices showing up, price increases showing up in clothing. Price increases are showing up in furniture. Price increases are actually showing up when you take energy out. And most analysts say they're only just beginning now to pass costs on to consumers, so expect stuff to continue to go up. But, I mean, the headline inflation number, really good for the president. He did something that even back during the Biden administration, if you listen to me, I was telling you got to bring energy costs down, and he has brought energy costs down, something Democrats aren't capable of doing because they hate oil and gas, and Donald Trump has expanded production of oil and gas through his policies. Good for him. He's making it work. Now, I got to tell you about Old Glory Bank. President Trump, I don't know if you've heard this or not, he signed an executive order to stop debanking of Americans for their faith, their politics, support of the Second Amendment. It's a big win. The government's just catching up to what Old Glory Bank has already been doing, because when the big banks were freezing out conservatives, Old Glory Bank was standing up, no woke agenda, no apologies. They built the bank on the same values you hold, faith, family, freedom. Listen, Washington now wants to get in on prohibiting debanking. Old Glory Bank was set up to prevent debanking. They were founded so no law-abiding American is ever going to be shut out for their beliefs. They're an FDIC-insured bank. They serve customers in all 50 states. They don't cave to council culture, so open an account today like I did. oldglorybank.com/Eric, E-R-I-C-K, oldglorybank.com/Eric. Be on the right side of banking. They're good people. They really are my bank. I got a checking account and a savings account with them. oldglorybank.com/Eric. Member FDIC, equal housing lender, terms and conditions apply. Hello, America. It is Eric Erickson here across the United States of America. The phone number is 877-973-7425. If you want to be on the program, as always, text Eric, E-R-I-C-K. You'll get the live stream. You'll get the show notes. You'll get the podcast. You'll get the social media links. I was on WHIO this morning, and Brittany was asking me about all my cooking pictures. Yeah, I do like to cook. At some point, I need to do a cookbook. I really actually probably should do a cookbook. I've been putting together recipes for one. I've got like 100 recipes to put in. They're all pretty easy. But you follow me on Instagram or Facebook. You see a lot of my stuff. But Instagram.com/EW Erickson. You get a lot of it there. I'm going to do something some of you will get mad at me for, because I know you. Every time I give advice to Democrats, I get angry emails from two specific people in particular. Yeah, I do see your emails. I just don't respond. And why are you giving them advice? Why are you helping the Democrats? Because I know, and you know, they're not actually going to take the advice. So I can give them the advice and know that it's not actually really going to help, because they're not actually going to do it. I want to play for you, to kick this off, a clip from Alex Thompson on CNN last night talking about how the Democrats are reacting to Donald Trump's takeover of Washington, which you should know is only for 30 days under federal law. Listen to Alex Thompson.
What's striking is that National Democrats are not following Mayor Bowser's lead on this, and that National Democrats have been insisting, just look at the statistics. We have 30-year low, violent crime, whereas Mayor Bowser is talking about, hey, we need to get 500 more police officers on the streets. We'd like the federal government to help us rebuild our jail. She's talking about some of the reforms she did to make it so accused violent offenders don't get out of jail pre-trial. So there is this disconnect, and I've talked to Democratic strategists today that think that National Democrats saying, look at the statistics is sort of a tone-deaf way to react.
And it's very much, isn't this the exact same problem that Democrats had last year? Look at the statistics. We promise you the economy is great, while people are going, it doesn't feel great to me. That feels like a lot of this conversation around crime, that you can point to statistics all day long that say, hey, D.C. is safer this year than it was last year. But do people feel safe? Bottom line, if they don't, they may be more okay with something that would otherwise be considered extraordinary.
Yes. Thank you to Newsbusters for grabbing that clip. Yes. It actually is kind of crazy. The Democrats want to talk about statistics and Republicans are talking about people's lives. Republicans are talking about the people getting beat up in the streets of Washington and murdered. Last night in DuPont Circle, and you should understand, DuPont Circle is in the northwest quadrant of D.C. And let me step back real quick and explain this to those of you who've never been there. Washington, D.C. is a diamond-shaped city. It used to have more of it, but back in the 1800s, a portion of Washington was ceded back to Virginia. But have a diamond in your head and then draw a vertical line and a horizontal line meets right near the center of Washington. That's over the Capitol. And if you're northwest of the Capitol, that's the northwest quadrant. Northeast of the Capitol, northeast quadrant. Southeast, southwest. The Capitol is the center of Washington, D.C. And the roads, it's very easy. I've mentioned the other day, it's very easy to navigate Washington. The roads, if you are moving east-west, the roads that go north-south are numbered. The roads that go east-west as you're moving up the city, they're alphabetized. And at the end, they have the marker, northwest, northeast, southwest, southeast, and you know at every moment where you are in the city. Roads that are diagonal are named after states, and those are the avenues: Pennsylvania Avenue, New Jersey Avenue, Connecticut Avenue, Massachusetts Avenue. Up in the northwest quadrant in Washington, D.C. is DuPont Circle. DuPont Circle is a very progressive area of Washington. It is where in that area, Logan Circle and DuPont Circle, a lot of gay activists live. You follow DuPont Circle up, you get towards the U.S. Naval Observatory if you go up Massachusetts Avenue, and then to the National Cathedral. It's also Massachusetts Avenue is Embassy Road. North of DuPont Circle on Massachusetts Avenue, you have a lot of famous old houses that have been turned into embassies. I used to stay up in the Massachusetts Avenue area, in the DuPont Circle area. There's a great old hotel I used to stay at. Not there anymore, but that area has gotten hyper progressive. There's more and more crime in that area than there used to be. I used to stay up there because it was a safe part of the city. And the red line goes through there. The red line is the subway line that cuts from the northwest side of D.C., swoops down towards the White House, and then cuts back to the northeast side of D.C., and my office was on the red line. So I could get on a DuPont Circle and go to Union Station. It is progressive. You see a lot of rainbow flags. There's a big Presbyterian church up there not a lot of people go to anymore that's got a big rainbow flag hoisted up. The gay pride rallies are in DuPont Circle area. It's a very progressive area. And last night, those good white progressives, many of them gay, got on the streets and they began to protest Donald Trump's takeover of Washington. It was an overwhelmingly white protest. 2 blocks over, somebody got shot while they were protesting. And the Democrats want you to know it's all fine. It's fine because they don't see it. It's one of the reasons that non-white voters have drifted towards the GOP is because Democrats don't take crime seriously. They genuinely don't take crime seriously. They don't see it, therefore it's not happening. They don't see it, therefore the place is safe. They don't see it, they just see the statistics. They don't see the lives lost. And when you rely on statistics, there are lies, damn lies, and statistics. And when you rely on the statistics, you take something that has a face and a human being, and you wind up harming them, making them a number instead of a name. Democrats, you got to stop making people numbers instead of names. You've got to stop making people statistics because they're people. One of the things you got to do is end cash bail. Harold Ford was a Democratic member of Congress from the Memphis area. Memphis, one of the most crime-infested cities in the United States. Memphis is a city in decay. Memphis has an area of tourism in downtown Memphis along Beale Street, and you don't want to venture out in the rest of Memphis. My sister and her husband live just outside of Memphis. My niece works at the Baptist Hospital in Memphis, has some wild stories about the things they see in that hospital. It's not a safe city. My sister and her husband go to church with a police officer and his wife who were taking a vacation to the Turks and Caicos. They had a 6 a.m. flight, having never traveled internationally before. They left their home near Millington, Tennessee, to drive to the Memphis airport on the south side of the city. At a stoplight on a back road off the interstate at 3 a.m., men came out of the bushes and shot them. Police officer shot. You know the irony. He was grazed, thankfully. The wife was missed barely. He was grazed. They didn't want to miss their flight. He's a police officer. He'd been shot before in the line of duty years before. The police showed up, patched him up, and he and his wife still went to the airport and took their trip. He was sore for a week in Turks and Caicos, but he went. But randomly, people came out of the bushes and just shot him. Open fire. That's actually something that happens in Memphis. It doesn't get talked about because it's mostly non-white youths who are doing it, and the media, God forbid, you tell the truth of what's going on with black gang members in Memphis. The guy literally got shot and went on his vacation. It's crazy that these sorts of things happen in cities across America. And what do Democrats say? Remember Daniel Penny? Daniel Penny saved the people on the subway in New York, and they still prosecuted him. He was found not guilty, acquitted by a jury. And what did progressive commentators say? Was it Tory? I can't remember. One of the progressive commentators, I think on MSNBC, I think it was Tory, but maybe it wasn't him. Somebody else just said, you expect to get harassed on the subway. Just put in your AirPods. No, you should not have to expect to get harassed. Shortly thereafter, they started burning people alive on the subways in New York City. They're like, just avoid the people who are going to burn you up. People shove you out onto the tracks to your death in New York City. They're like, nah, it just happens. People should not have to fear for their lives anywhere in the United States, and yet progressives, they've made it common. So Harold Ford on Fox News. Listen to this.
The crime issue, I heard Kash Patel today say during the press conference, and he was right, that the murder rate has come down. The Mayor Bowser has said the murder rate has come down. But when you live in communities or you live in neighborhoods where crime is taking place, those statistics mean things. But if you're worried about your kids, worried about yourself, worried about your families, you want someone, and you're expecting government to step up to the plate. I'd say one thing to everybody, New Yorkers, people live in Maryland, people live in Colorado, people live in Illinois, Florida, Georgia. We need to end cash bail. This no cash bail thing has not worked. Now, there were many who thought it might work because you're going to let people were going to jail to they were spending more time waiting for their trial than they were if they got convicted of something. But we're seeing now that the thing doesn't work. There ought to be a bipartisan effort to say, look, let's end it now. Whether you're a Democrat that supported it in the past, it just didn't work. And we ought to be willing to admit that. Any Republican or Democrat has an idea that doesn't work, just admit when it doesn't work. This one has not worked. We should get away from it. Two, our Fox reporter, I can't think of his name, young guy. I see him on Brett Baer's show a lot, and I've seen him on your show in the morning. He asked, I think, the first or second question of President Trump during the press conference, and I think it's a legitimate question. He said, Mr. President, will you be willing to take this to other cities? And the president said, yes. I hope that this template works, that we find a way to take it to Chicago and Baltimore and Memphis and Denver and Atlanta and other places that may need it, where you have communities that are wrecked by crime. And then two, he raised a question, which I'm totally opposed to the legalization of any drugs. And apparently President Trump and his team are looking at reclassifying marijuana. And the reporter asked, how do you reconcile that if people think that could be a gateway to some other things that these kids are doing? And I thought my former seatmate here and my pal here who talked about young people, I wouldn't be surprised if there were not drugs that are a part of that, as well as these young people are holding guns and handling guns and committing crimes with guns. It was interesting. I didn't realize you couldn't prosecute a kid unless they kill somebody with the gun or rape somebody with the gun. If they have a gun or they use it, that has to change. And I hope that the U.S. attorney there, my friend, is able to change that.
And here's the thing: is the situation. Look at Mamdani in New York City. It's actually the white progressives who are pushing this. It's not the black families. The black families in New York City are supporting Andrew Cuomo. They don't want Mamdani. In Washington, D.C., it's the wealthy white people who are supporting the urban decay. It's the black families who are scared. It's the black families supporting Donald Trump's takeover. And yet the good, white, wealthy progressives on television, they come on and they say it's not a problem. I saw Ann Applebaum, who has kind of been broken by Donald Trump. I used to think she was an insightful writer. She was on Twitter last night talking about how she grew up in D.C. and it's so much safer now than when she was a kid. Yeah, the crack epidemic is no longer a thing there, but it's still not safe. And I actually did the research to figure out where she lived. I'm not going to dox her. But I know where Ann Applebaum lives, and guess what? She lives in the perfectly safe part of Washington, D.C., where she doesn't have to see the crime. She doesn't live on the southeast side or the southwest side or the northeast side. She lives in a perfectly nice, decent area of Washington where you and I would feel safe even at night walking down the street towards the zoo. But that's where the white progressives live, and they're safe there. The white progressives don't live in Compton. They don't live in downtown Memphis. They don't live in Oakland. They don't live in the interior of Baltimore. They don't live on the south side of Chicago, and they think that's just them. That's just their thing. That's just their way of life. It is the epitome of racism that white progressives have just been indoctrinated into the idea that that's just a part of the black community. Black moms and dads don't want their kids shot. They don't want their kids in gangs. And yet white progressives assume that's just part of their way of life. And so when Donald Trump comes along and says, I'm going to fight crime, the white progressives say it's racist. It's not racist. It's pro-life. You are protecting the lives of citizens of this country, regardless of their race, creed, or ethnic origin. And progressives think that doing so is racist. You Democrats have got to actually get tough on crime and stop talking about statistics, because I can give you the names of the people who were murdered. Americans for Prosperity has been advocating tough on crime ideas for quite some time and common sense legal reforms in this country. They would love to have you on board. Even if you just want to be informed about the latest trends in conservative policy, all you have to do is go to afpvolunteer.com. You can learn how to be an advocate for common sense conservative reforms. You can learn how to advance them in the state legislature or in Congress. Or you can just be the most informed member of your circle of friends. It's afpvolunteer.com. That's the website, afpvolunteer.com. Americans for Prosperity is the largest and leading grassroots group in the nation. And it happens to be conservative. It happens to have chapters in every state, and they'd love to get you involved. afpvolunteer.com is the website. Americans for Prosperity is great. I'm on their board of advisors. We'd love to have you. My fellow Americans, welcome. It is Eric Erickson here. The phone number is 877-973-7425. I have to tell you that I have thought, and I have said on this program, that as the president tried to move on from the Epstein stuff, that he was changing the conversation, the Tulsi Gabbard stuff about what Obama did, things like that. The president was trying to shift the conversation to move the base along to something else. At this point, however, the Democrats are now processing every single thing in that way. A story that didn't matter all that much, the Democrats have decided that everything's a distraction. I think Donald Trump knows how to play the Democrats. Just look at what happened with illegal immigration. Overwhelmingly, voters, it's a top 5 issue for them. Donald Trump begins to aggressively arrest and deport illegal aliens, most of whom are gangbangers and criminals. And the Democrats are suddenly on the side of illegal immigrants. They take an 80-20 issue and they find the 20% side. Now Donald Trump is taking on crime. Another issue that voters have been concerned about and helped him get elected was the issue of crime. He's staked out the 80% side. Democrats are rushing to the 20% side. They're on the side of the criminal. They're trying to claim it doesn't matter. They're trying to cite statistics that are dubious. I don't think he's doing this in Washington, D.C. as a distraction from Epstein. And I have said I thought some of the stuff he had done were to move people on from that conversation. This is not one of them. He's just found another 80-20 issue where the Democrats will naturally be on the 20% side, the side no one wants to be on except the Democrats. He's learned how to play them. On the major issues of the day, crime and immigration, the economy, Donald Trump's trying to stake out position. I think he's wrong on tariffs, but nonetheless, on crime and immigration, he's on the 80% side, and he's forced the Democrats to take on the side of the criminals and the illegal aliens and the gangbangers and the like. It's actually kind of wild to see how he plays the Democrats so predictably. And again, it's like I said at the beginning of the hour, if Donald Trump came out today and said breathing is good, Democrats would say breathing is bad. You should hold your breath. He's in their head that much. He has beaten them so savagely and repeatedly. Remember, Hillary Clinton actually poured resources into helping Donald Trump get the Republican nomination in 2016. This isn't revisionism. It's well documented. She thought he would be so easy to beat, and he beat her. So they had to conjure up the Russian narrative. And then 2020 happens, and the Democrats think progressives are inevitable. He'll never win again, and he beats them in 2024 after they indicted him. They dragged him through every court system in America just about. They tried to bankrupt him. He beat them again, and he's broken them. He lives in their head rent-free and knows how to play them. And when we come back, the other 80-20 issue, energy in this country, where the Democrats are on the side of we need to curl up and die to save the planet. And Donald Trump is on the side of let's build nuclear plants in this country and do supersonic aircraft and the like.